views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Straight ahead on this edition of Perspectives, we do something that everyone is dealing with today. We talk about it actually, how basically to work from home and keep your sanity. Our guest will talk to us about that, give you some tips and more. Straight ahead on Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind? Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference in someone's life. Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let them know.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime. Of course, we thank you for joining us. As always, you can watch Perspectives here on BronxNet's Channel 67. If you have Verizon Files, that would be Channel 33, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. We also encourage you to stay connected to us on all of our social media sites on BronxNet Television. Well, let's get right at it. Most of us right now are trying to deal with what is known as the coronavirus and the after effects. And people call it Rona, people call it the coronavirus. There are a lot of different names for what we're calling it today. It's very serious, but at the same time, it's also a matter of keeping sanity, right? A lot of us are behind closed doors, shut in, wondering about how do we make it? How do we get through this next phase until we get to the place where we can get back to a sense of normalcy, with an emphasis of sense of normalcy. Our guest coming to us today is very much one that can help us with it, a career strategist, one that has given her time, her talent into improving people's lives, being that life coach, professional coach. She's also worked at Reuters Television. She's also been a guest with us here on BronxNet Television. But most of all, she also got her teeth wet, or I should say cut her teeth in BronxNet. And we're pleased to be joined by Elizabeth Koraca, who joins us now. And Elizabeth, good to see you.
So nice to be here with you, Daren.
It is good to have you. And listen, let's get right at it because, as we're trying to navigate, obviously, all of us are navigating from behind closed doors. And it's a real job to really stay positive, to stay focused, to stay really, engaged. But in spite of all of that, some others are really just having a hard time. So give us a little bit about where we should be around this time in dealing with our sanity and working from home.
Okay. Well, working from home and keeping your sanity, you want to remember that this is not forever. There is an end in sight. So sometimes we feel down or frustrated or just wondering, oh my goodness, can I even do one more day? Just keep reminding yourself that this is for a short time. It's not forever. It's not forever. And you really want to think about, have I changed my goals since I have been home? Because a lot has changed between now and when everything was normal.
Yeah, a lot has definitely changed. But I think one of the things that people are worried about right now, especially during this time, is something called boundaries, right? When you talk about boundaries, I'm used to having my space, but now having more people in the home during the time that I'm usually home by myself, oh God, that could be a problem. So walk us through, for some of us who feel like our boundaries have been broken simply by this.
Well, it's really important to stay firm in your boundaries, okay? So you want to think about what is okay and what is not okay. And again, this situation isn't forever, but it is what it is right now. And you might be used to having some alone time in the car or having your own office somewhere else or your own workspace. And all of a sudden, all your family members are in the same place and people are getting on each other's nerves. So number one, remember, it's normal for people to be getting on your nerves because you're in a small space, okay? And I feel like people across the world are experiencing this. So you want to have open communication with your family members. What is okay? What is not okay? Trying to set up a schedule. If you're living in an apartment or a smaller space, the kitchen, the bathroom, shared spaces. When are people going in? When are people going out? When is it my time? When is it my time to do these certain things? Because you don't need to be doing everything with everyone all the time because you're going to lose it.
Yeah. I mean, well, you talk about losing it. I mean, one of the things I think we lost was our perception of time. I mean, when you think about it, everybody was used to operating in a certain time capsule. You have that what's called routine, going to work, getting yourself up, going to work, but the routine has changed. So give us a little bit about routine. What should I be doing in the area of routine? Because, yeah, for many of us, that routine is going out of the window and we have to find a new routine.
Okay, exactly. You need to create a new routine and think about the benefits. All of a sudden, people working from home, you don't have to pay for transit anymore or gas for your car, and you are saving on time. So try to remember the positives, a little bit of extra time you have for yourself in the morning or with your family that you wouldn't usually have. So you want to think about the positives, but set that new routine, whatever that looks like for you. Don't be going through the same motions that you did when you were working in an office or at a workspace, because that is completely different and that is completely changed. You want to have a schedule. You want to keep the schedule in your calendar because all of a sudden, yes, you have your own job to do from home, but you might also be homeschooling, or you might also be helping another family with their commitment. So you want to keep this all scheduled in your calendar and stick to the calendar because what is in the calendar is what gets done.
Yeah. But what's the common mistakes I think that people make during this whole thing of trying to establish a routine?
I think the biggest mistake is trying to do it all. Trying to do it all and trying to do it all perfectly, okay? Because maybe you had more time before and there was more structure. So a lot of people are challenged by structure, but if the laundry always got done on Tuesdays and all of a sudden you're homeschooling, doing other things, the laundry is going to have to wait. And the most important thing in all of it is to ask for help. You might not be able to do everything anymore because you have additional commitments, additional pressures. So ask for help when help is going to alleviate a lot of those stresses. Forget about pride right now and ask for help because it will put you in a state of feeling like I'm in charge, I'm in control. You're going to feel better and you're going to be more pleasant to be around.
Yeah, but we also make some common mistakes during this time. I mean, we talked about asking for help. That's one of the better things that we can do to assist us in this journey. But what are some of the other things that maybe we need to be paying attention to that may be the common mistakes that we make in this particular area?
Not taking care of yourself. You need to make yourself the number one priority, even if you're taking care of others. Because if you don't feel good yourself, if you're getting run down and burnt out, everyone else is going to suffer, and you're not going to be able to help other people. So what do I mean by taking care of yourself? Well, what is it that you actually like to do when you're not working or you're not homeschooling? Is it reading a book, reading a magazine? Is it doing a little bit of online shopping? Is it yoga? Is it Pilates? Is it meditation? So if you're in a small space, it's saying, you know what? I'm taking this hour for me. I'm going into the bedroom, put your do not disturb sign up or lock the door, speak to whomever is in the house and let them know it's me time.
Yeah. Well, a lot to consider. And what I'm going to do now is take a quick break, come back and talk with you a little bit more. And then as we talk a little bit more, I want to talk about a couple of particular areas. I mean, if you're that career person and your job has been threatened, or if you're walking around with anxiety and worry, I know Elizabeth's got some strategies to help us out. Stay with us. We got more perspectives coming up right after this.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk. but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
And we are back here on Perspectives. Daren Jaime here with you, and we are so glad to have you sharing with us, giving you the news, the information, and the tips that you need to know how to navigate through the coronavirus. And we're pleased to have Elizabeth Koraca, who's sharing with us as we are talking about how to navigate. And one of the things we want to know is, when you're home, there's this feeling of isolation. And so, Elizabeth, I want you to talk about this because, how do you deal with this isolation that you feel while you're at home? Many people are at home. They're feeling like, okay, I'm disconnected from society, but some way they still want to be connected. Navigate us through isolation.
Of course. Yes, we are all feeling very disconnected to our norm, our friends, our family, because we're all, quarantining. So you want to do whatever it is you can, whether that be texting, email, voice calling is fantastic to stay connected, FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, whatever it is, whatever platform you have to stay connected, it's so important. And even reach out to people you haven't spoken to in a while. We are now at home, and some of us have more time to spend like this. You also want to think about those who are isolated, who are alone, perhaps the elderly or friends and family that live alone. So yes, some of your family members might be getting on your nerves, but at least you have each other. Think about and put yourself in someone else's shoes who's completely by themselves, right? So you really want to make sure you reach out to them as well.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest concern for most of us is like the fear of the unknown. I mean, it's really real that we don't know. We hear about when people are opening up, my job, I don't know, a lot of unknowns. So that fear of the unknown is very real on the parts of in the hearts and minds of people. What do you say to people about getting through that?
That is the real deal right there. The unknown, the fear around the unknown, and being really in uncharted territories. You want to focus on, what am I in control of right now? What can I control? I'm in control of myself and my own behaviors, right? So you want to make a list of all the things that I'm in control of. Then make a list of things that you're not in control of, that might be giving you anxiety or stress. And take a look at that list. Is there anything I can do around those topics to help me feel better, whether it be researching, educating myself, or reaching out to others for help?
But when you talk about reaching out to others for help, of course, that's a major move. And sometimes we understand that people really don't want to reach out for help. They kind of stay to themselves. Any tips there in terms of like really dealing with that? Because that isolation is very, very real. And staying to yourself is something that more and more people are becoming more and more apt to do.
Exactly. And you want to think about people who have supported you in the past and who love and who care about you. Someone who's used to giving advice, like a pastor, right? Somebody
Right.
like yourself who's there for people, who loves to help and talk and will help anybody and everybody, right? So you want to think about those people. Maybe you have a mentor, maybe you have a coach. You want to think about those people. And now is not the time for worrying about what people think of you, or when our ego gets in the way. Like, a lot of us feel like, I should be able to handle this. This is nothing. I've been through all these different traumatic experiences. But at the end of the day, we all need help and we all need support. And you might be the person in your family who always appears to be holding it together, but even that person needs an outlet. For example, I'm definitely one of those people at my house. And today we had a parent teacher interview for my daughter who hasn't been in school since the middle of March. And all of a sudden we're talking and we're wrapping up and getting ready to say goodbye because it's end of year. And I was just so sad. It just hit me, Daren. And I just started crying. And I'm not a crier, even if you are, there's nothing wrong with that. But my emotions took over, and that is okay. It's okay to cry, or it's okay to talk to someone about the sadness, because there's a lot of grieving going on. Yes, real deal grieving, like people passing away, but also kind of grieving our normal, graduations at school, going to work, getting, maybe that promotion you were going to get, and now everything is on hold. So it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to be sad.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, there's a lot of people who are grieving in a whole lot of different ways. You have the people who've actually lost loved ones. You have people who've been infected. You've got people who've been affected, and I think sometimes we discount the people who've been affected and what that really does for them, emotionally, psychologically. But for you, who's a career strategist, I know you've been in touch with a lot of people. I know you've been staying in touch with clients. What are you hearing, and how are you helping people navigate through this rough period? Because I know there's probably some real dominant trends that you're hearing right now.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of dominant trends right now. And some of the things that I talk to about with my clients when they do feel stressed or they do feel anxious, are you sitting at home all day? Are you going out at all? If you're able to go out, you get your mask on and out you go. Okay. So
Mhm.
even if it's taking a walk around the block, okay, wherever it is you feel safe to step outside or get some physical activity, that doesn't mean you have to be a marathon runner or someone who is so in shape, but it just brings on a different perspective, because sitting inside all day will bring you down.
Yeah, it will bring you down. But I think the key is getting motivated, right? And I want to talk a little bit about motivation, but uh, motivation is sometimes hard to do when you've experienced disappointment. And one of the things that happens is that a lot of people sometimes have to deal with this thing called disappointment, whether that's employment disappointment, familial disappointment, or just life disappointment in this time, because there's a lot of time to reflect, right? You think about life, you think about the way things are, and just like you said, you got upset, right? What about disappointment?
Well, the disappointment is real. And disappointment is basically expectations unmet. You want to think about your expectations of yourself, on your family, on your career, and you want to readjust those in this kind of holding pattern that we're in. You need to check your own expectations.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important. Well, Elizabeth, I'm gonna take a quick break, and then we will come back. We'll have some more with Elizabeth Koraca, who gives us the tips that we need to know to navigate through this season of COVID-19. We'll be back with more perspective. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people. Avoid crowds. Stay home if you can. Wash your hands frequently. Learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
Back here on Perspectives, Daren Jaime here with you, and glad to have you sharing here with us as we're talking about navigating through COVID-19. Our guest, Elizabeth Koraca, who's been helping us all the way through. And so with COVID-19, a lot of people have had to suffer with job loss. More than 22 million Americans filing unemployment, most ever in American history. And Elizabeth, that number is a far startling number, a number that a lot of people never thought we'd ever see or have to say. But the facts are the facts. 22 million people are without. And how do you do and deal when you're in job loss? Because even though people have lost their jobs, it also is an opportunity in some ways to recreate.
It is. And I like how you're looking at the silver lining, Daren. Yes, a lot of job loss is happening, or, salary cuts or fear of job loss. But if you have lost your job, there's a few things you can think of. Is this the right time to recreate? Is this the right time to think about, what is it that I really want to do? What do I love? What is the actual vision? I want you to think about the vision for your work life. Okay. What is it that you want it to look like? What is your purpose? What is your why? What excites you? What fulfills you? Is now the perfect time to change careers? Whether that question is yes, whether it's no, and you're happy in your career, you want to think about, okay, how, A, filing for unemployment, and B, what can I do next? How can someone help me? You want to think about, how is the easiest way to get a job? It's by a personal referral or reference, right? So you want to really think about, who can I tell? Who can help me? And when you do talk to someone, you don't want to fixate on the story of how you were let go. You want to fixate and focus on where you want to go next and how that person can help you. You want to ask everybody, because you never know who knows someone. When you think about all the jobs you've had in the past and how you've gotten them, chances are most of them have been because you knew someone who knew someone.
Right. And that's the truth. You know somebody who knows somebody, and an opportunity can be created. But for those who are staying at home, listen, people are staying at home, they're working from home, and fitness becomes a big question, because a lot of people are losing their minds because they can't get to the gym. And I mean, when you think about gym is important for people. Exercise is important to people. So give us a little bit about that part. How do I stay physically fit? What advice do you give for people who are the fitness buffs but don't have the equipment at home to be able to do what they got to do?
Well, then you either can do your own, but if you need that extra push or motivation, you get online. What do you actually like doing? I am not the type of person who likes high cardio and impact. That's just not me. Could be other people. But so for me, there's a YouTube channel, Yoga with Adrienne. You could be, 80 years old and a super beginner to someone. She's got classes all the way up to someone who's an expert. There's Headspace has meditation with exercise, which is kind of nice. So just Google whatever it is you like. And again, schedule that in the calendar. My workout time is 10 a.m. The family knows it. It's in the calendar and it's on me to get it done. And that's actually maybe some nice alone time for you as well.
Yeah, alone time is big. And that's the big question I think a lot of people want, alone time. We hear the words, we really can't go outside too much if you're really trying to maintain social distancing. Some people are maintaining and other people aren't. But for those who are maintaining social distancing, creating that alone time, very important. How does one do it in a time like this?
Daren, you don't get what you don't ask for. So if you're in a house where you have responsibilities, you tell people what you want, what you need, and what you expect. I mean, you can have a conversation. You want to keep communication open. And if you're telling people, I need this, you can also ask them, look, if you're to your partner, do you also want alone time? Well, let's schedule that for you too. So there's no hard feelings that one's getting more alone time than the other. But again, ask for what you want. You don't get what you don't ask for. People are not mind readers.
Yeah, you're not. So before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to share, give some final thoughts, give some encouragement to people, because certainly I think in this day, this time, this space, needing encouragement and finding encouragement is not always easy as some people think. But for people who are doing it, give us some.
You know, it's not easy, but it can be done. Make a list of things that you enjoy. What brings you light? What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? Now get those in the schedule. Ask people, tell people what you want, share with people, connect, call people, text people. I'd love to have a phone call. Check in on those people who might be a little bit introverted or kind of feel like they have the persona of always having it covered when you really know that they don't and they need some extra help, because it's also very gratifying and fulfilling to help others in need. But number one is taking care of yourself and finding what brings you joy and doing that.
Yeah. And before we go, please make sure you tell people how can they stay connected to you if they want to help, have some help to be able to get them through this as well. I know that's what you do. So please share with people how they can get connected with you.
Yes, you can go to my website, which is Elizabeth Koraca, Koraca.com, or on my social media, you can DM me again, Elizabeth Koraca.
All righty, Elizabeth. Well, one, thank you so much for joining us, being our guest here on Perspectives. You always bring some enlightening information. And I think for those of us who are trying to navigate through this season, you really gave some helpful tips to see us through. You got to come back soon.
I would love to. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, Daren, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, great. Elizabeth Koraca, a friend, a sister. Great to have her, a colleague. And as I said, she's the one that can really give us some helpful information during a time like this. And it's important, you know, to apply some of these things because it's really hard to really navigate. Nobody's ever been in a pandemic before. But the question is, how do I get through it? And we get through it with good, solid advice. And we get through it with the help of friends and, of course, with the help of God. Listen, that's about all the time we have for hits here on Perspectives. I'm Daren Jaime. For all of us here on the Set of Perspectives, want to thank you for watching. Until the next time we meet, stay safe and share your perspective with somebody else. It just might make a difference in someone else's life. Take care. See you soon.